Welcome back to Fabricating Awesome Stuff. I've reached the point where I need to start running the fuel and oil lines to the engine on the Sonex aircraft that I'm building. So in today's episode, I'm going to show you how to fabricate and install an oil return line that brings the oil back to the crankcase after passing through the turbocharger. So let me know what you think in the comments. Also, remember to like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of these updates. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and thanks for watching. We need to run an oil line, an oil return line, from the secondary oil pump on the front of the engine, where that blue fitting is, right there. From there, back to the crankcase, and I drilled a hole in the baffling for the pipe to go through, and I have shaped just by hand a piece of tubing, 3/8 tubing, in order to accomplish this. So the tubing is going to go from the fitting on the oil pump, and it's going to go up through the hole in the baffling and up to the crankcase. So that's how it's going to travel. And now we need to make fittings. We have to attach fittings to the tubing in order to attach it to the engine. I previously cut a piece of 3/8 tubing to the correct length and then shaped it by hand to use it as an oil return line from the secondary oil pump to the crankcase, to the engine case. And so now we need to put a B-nut on there in order to attach it to the fittings on the engine. So first step is one of these 3/8 inch ferrules goes on, which I've slid it on here. And the B-nut will go on top of that, and in order for it all to seal, we have to flare this end, and it's a 37-degree flare since this is an aviation B-nut. So we're going to use this flaring tool. I've got the die set up at 3/8 inch, which is the diameter of the tubing. We'll insert it. And close it down. And we've brought it out so that it's just flush with the end of the die. It's flush with the end of the die. And then we'll go ahead and tighten this down so it doesn't slip. Tighten the die down, make sure it's where we want it, and that looks good. So now we just tighten this, and this will flare that tubing. So I'm just going to put just so it doesn't mess it up at all, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of lubricant on it, a couple drops of lube on there. That'll make it go a little easier. Okay, how does that look? Go just a little bit tighter. Okay, now take it out and take a look at it. Okay, the flare looks good. When we put the B-nut on here and push this up tight, you can see the flare is inside and should seal just fine. So we'll do the second side. Okay. Next step, we put the second B-nut on and the second ferrule. And now we need to flare this end to fit this ferrule. So we'll slip it in the die. And we'll tighten it down. Okay, that should be held good. So now we'll go do the flare. Yeah, let me put a drop of oil in there so it doesn't drag. And flare it into the tubing. Okay, that looks really good, so take it out of the die. Okay, that looks good. Okay, it fits right in there very nicely. So we're good to go. We made the piece of tubing, 3/8 tubing, to run this line. Put B-nuts on each end so that they can go on to both of these fittings on the engine. So first I'm going to run it up through the baffling where I cut the hole, and we'll attach it to both of these fittings. Okay, go ahead and tighten both B-nuts. Here's a close-up of what we just did. So we've got the oil line returning to the crankcase. It's going through the baffling and down to the secondary oil pump right there. I'll use a grommet in that hole so that it doesn't leak air and also doesn't chafe on the tubing. On the top of the engine, I also fabricated an oil line. It's an oil pressure line. That's the oil pressure sensor right there, and that's an oil pressure line. What I did is I used a piece of welding wire, and you can see I put the welding wire down and kind of shaped it about how I wanted the tubing to be shaped. And it also helped me determine the length of the tubing. And then I used this welding wire as a template to make that piece of tubing. So we've got a B-nut on each end, so we had to flare this just like we just did for the larger line. This is only a 1/4 inch line, and the other one's a 3/8 inch line. So we're gradually gaining on it. We're going to be doing some other hoses here soon. Thanks for watching.